Hello there. This is my Gen 3 Prius and there is something different about it. Check this out. So as of last year, late last year, my engine started rattling heavily in the morning, only to realize that the gasket was blown, and in addition to that it was burning oil as well. So I had the option of changing the engine, and but I didn't want to do that because there's a higher tendency that it's going to be a repetition of the whole thing. So there was this thing going on in the US and the rest of the Europe, people upgrading their 2ZR-FXE engine in Gen 3 Prius to another 2ZR-FXE Gen 4 engine. So they are the same models, but only a little bit better upgrade, in the sense that less tendency of oil consumption and blown head gaskets. So I decided to take that risk and I did it. Luckily for me, it worked. But I'm here to share, just in case you have the option to go through the same thing. And I know there's a higher tendency that lots of Gen 3 Prius owners will actually encounter this issue at some point in our car's life. So this car's has done 180. Let's have a look. This car's done, let's see, this car's done 188,000 miles. However, I did the change on this date, 31st of March 2024, and I've been driving it since then, just to make sure everything runs smoothly before I decide to share my experience with you guys. So that was the date I changed it. I took note of everything. It had 186,952 miles on it on the 31st of March 2024. The engine is a C-HR Mark 1. Actually, the car it came out from was a 2018, and it only had done 18,000 miles on it. So I kept that record just for my own sake. So these are some of the steps I took in order to successfully ensure this upgrade actually works. So first of all, I kept the Gen 4 dipstick because I couldn't remove the Gen 3 dipstick from my old engine. I upgraded. I used a Gen 4 water pump instead of using a Gen 3 water pump. So my engine came with this bypass hose that went from the water pump area straight to the back. I'll show you later on where it connects. I kept it. Other upgraders, other DIYers have taken it off or blocked it off, but I decided to keep mine. Just it's there for a reason, so I might as well keep it. So I kept it. So I kept all the ignition coils. I did not touch the spark plugs because the engine came with an 18,000 miles on it, so I kept everything. Kept the air box, the intake, the air box, the intake manifold is all from Gen 3. Didn't touch the thermostat right there. I didn't touch it. This one is the Gen 4 one, so I just left it there. Obviously this engine did not come with a water pump, and I had to get a water pump, the Gen 4 water pump. I initially used the Gen 3 water pump, but unfortunately it failed on me, so I didn't have any other choice but to get a Gen 4 water pump. So I used the EGR valve and EGR cooler from the Gen 3. I did some modifications to it. Obviously I'll show you that later on. This water outlet, the one that came with this one, with this Gen 4 engine, couldn't work for me because it had a controlled valve, a temperature controlled valve in it, so I had to swap it, and I got this ordinary one which I got from the Toyota dealership. It was, I think, 50 quid or so, and I swapped that for this one, and I still connected the bypass that came from the back to it. Right, obviously with this new engine, with this Gen 4 engine, there was no connection for the air filter box to connect to the engine block. So what I did was I got this bracket on eBay. I cut the top off, and luckily for me it fitted. I'll probably add it to the description just in case you want to see it, if you want to get it. Some of the parts I used for this upgrade will be added to the description as well, just to help you guys. Parts like these coolant hose that I used for this, the coolant hose that connects to the water outlet. I got it from eBay as well. It's like a 3-in-1 coolant hose. I got it, I only used one out of all of them. In addition to that, I kept these top hose that came with the Gen 4 engine, and what I did was, this hose here is the same size as this hose on the that came, I think that came from the throttle body. Anyway, this is meant to go to this pipe, to the back, but since they are the same size, they couldn't fit. So what I did was, this pipe, the one that came from the Gen 3 engine, my old engine, what I did was I cut it into two, and it served as a connection between that and that. So I didn't have to do very much, just connected it. As you can see, there's a slight difference. That bulge, that is the pipe in between both of them. If I were to give you an advice, I'd say it would be good that you have somebody to help you out with this, because trust me, it's not an easy task. It's very challenging and daunting. If you have someone to help you with this task, please do. My friend had to come over to help me put back the engine into the transmission, but I took out the engine myself, and my buddy helped me to put it back in. The difficulties I faced, there was a last bolt at the back of the transmission, the engine, that was really difficult to get. It was a little bit challenging to bring it out, but with patience I was able to put it back in. Was the most challenging, you know. That was where the most manpower went into, because it took a lot of patience to actually fit it through this little bay. If I were to advise, get a buddy. Secondly, stubby ratchet socket, 14mm. The last board that was really a pain in the neck to get a stubby ratchet socket, 14mm. I think that really made my day. My neighbor had to borrow me one. Without it, God knows, maybe I would have stripped the bolt, because I had a multi-spline socket that is not even stubby enough. It was a little bit big. And another tool that will really be advantageous in this work, it will be magnetic telescopic pickup tool. Trust me, during this work, a lot of bolts and screws and tools are gonna fall off. But if you have this, that will save you a lot of heartache. It will make your job so much easier, being able to pick up your tools when they fall off. Trust me, come in really, really handy. Yeah. So what else? Yeah, after doing all this, obviously we all know this car is this model is notorious for blown ahead gasket. So what I did to prevent this from happening again, I got that is a OBD head unit display. When I'm driving, I can literally see it, as you can see here. So this with my hologram beside it when we're driving makes my life easier, so I can monitor the coolant level, the coolant temperature at the same time driving. So yeah, just an advice really. But I would say, if you want to do this, don't be scared, get a buddy and do your research. To be honest, it probably took me 2 weeks, let's say 2 weekends, 3 weekends, let's say 3 weekends in total. I didn't do it during weekdays, because obviously going to work and stuff. But yeah, I encountered some problems during the whole testing phase of this, which was overheating initially, obviously, because I started up with a Gen 3 water pump, and the water outlet was a selective one. The old water outlet that came with this engine was a selective water outlet. So if you can see, I'm not sure if you can see this, but there is a place where you plug in your harness that kind of tells the ECU the temperature of the coolant, so as to decide if the water outlet should open up or not. So in the middle of the water outlet is very constricted, so it kind of constricts the amount of water flow that goes back to the radiator. And I realized that because there was no enough cool water going to the radiator, I experienced overheating. Well, that's my best way of explaining this. So there was no free circulation of water through the whole cycle. I experienced overheating. The water, the coolant came back in from the bottom and pushed everything up, because obviously there was nothing flowing back to the tank itself. And that was kind of daunting, but I didn't have any other choice but to change the water pump and the water outlet. So I changed the water outlet to a standard one, which was I'll show you the part number in a minute. That is a standard one without any selective valve. It's just open, so as to encourage the free flow of coolant throughout the whole system. And when I changed it and everything got set up, and I purged the system by putting it in maintenance mode for 30 minutes. So what I did was, obviously I didn't do it the normal way of leaving it, let the whole system bleed out air by itself. So what I did was I put on the heating every 5 minutes interval on full blast, heating 5 minutes interval, and I just swapped it. I alternated it, 5 minutes heating full blast, switch off all equipment for 5 minutes, switch it off, let the system generate itself and bleed out itself like that. And I did that, and it took 45 to an hour for everything to bleed. Another thing as well, the fuel connection here, I had to buy a special tool. Connection was done here. Can you see it? There. The connection was done here. So I had to take this out. I had to take this out, and it was really difficult to take it out from the Gen 3, but there's a special tool to take that out from the Gen 3 engine. Once you take that out from Gen 3 engine, put your engine, Gen 4 engine in, and you just slide it straight away into it. But the difficult part of it, one of my challenges as well, is taking that out. So this is like a protection for it. You take this off, and then you have to take the connection, you have to separate this pipe, this hose, from the pipe that connects to the engine. There's a special tool for that. But yeah, perhaps do your research and look. There are several videos on YouTube that will actually show you how to do that. I think in that tool I used the second smallest of the two set for taking out fuel hose from the engine. I used the second smallest. I tried using the smallest, but it didn't work. It was a faffle. But I changed and used the second smallest, and luckily for me it worked. So, and I wish everyone could do this so that our Priuses can continue to run as long as they can on the road. That's my plan, to be honest. Yeah, that is another thing as well, the connection. So those are my my grounds. So put both of them together, and there's another one from that part of the engine. From that, can you see it? Yeah, from that part of the engine. Yeah, that. See it, come on. There you go. And it goes to underneath the water tank. Yeah, so that's it. And I must say, ever since I did this upgrade, the ice can now stay without working for so long. So at the moment, as you can see, it's being powered by the HV battery, and it's not kicked in for some time now. So the interval of it coming up while you're not doing anything now lasts so long, compared to it popping, coming up every like 10 minutes when I had the old engine on it. I also kept the Gen 3 oil filter housing because I had lots of filters to go through. So I removed the Gen 4 and I swapped it for the Gen 3. The difference, first big difference, was the Gen 4 engine came with a guide, though the Gen 3 engine came with two guides that guides the engine to the transmission, and those guides were on the transmission themselves. However, the Gen 4 came with one guide that is meant to be stopping the guide from the transmission to get into the engine. At the end of the day, I ended up cutting the two guides, because once you cut the one on the engine, the one on the transmission has nowhere to go into. So I ended up cutting the two guides to let the engine to get attached to the transmission. That was the biggest challenge of all. And to connect the coolant hose, first of all, this hose at the back, just close to these the back pipe goes to the lower heater core that connects, and the lower heater core from the back runs into the back of the car, and then out comes another hose that goes into the catalytic converter, and that from the catalytic converter comes another hose to the top that is meant to go to the top of the EGR cooler, which is at the top there. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, top there. Then secondly, another hose from below goes to the side of the EGR cooler. That hose goes to the side of the EGR cooler. That runs out from the I think to the side of the catalytic converter hose from below. Then coming to the front, the main hose, the big hose here that kind of came out from the side of the Gen 3 engine. On this one, the Gen 4 engine has a little bit of a modification. It came straight out instead of going out. However, I was able to acquire another hose on eBay, connected it directly to the neck of the hose, and then the S pipe from the Gen 3, I was able to cut it so that I could direct this to the tank itself. I know some people prefer using a T hose to connect the pipe that is coming out of directly from this pipe, this hose that's coming from the neck, connecting to the throttle body. They make a T shape here, one going to the throttle body and the other one going to the coolant. However, I myself decided to just use the S pipe instead and connect that directly to the tank. So this will be going directly to the tank. That hose is going straight away to the side of the throttle body. This hose that's coming from the side of the EGR cooler, which is this one, this will be going to the top of the throttle body. So that's it really. Majority of the fittings actually fitted directly. That I didn't touch, so it went straight to the thermostat. The pipe that came directly from this EGR cooler, this long pipe, is meant to run directly to the thermostat. So this hose goes into this pipe. I'm not sure if you can see it. This hose that's moving right now goes into that pipe, and that goes directly to the thermostat underneath the thermostat. Yeah, that is the hose, goes underneath the thermostat. So same fittings, everything fitted perfectly well. If you decide to do this, I'd say do your own research. Take your time and do your own research. It's not a rush, because if one bolt strips, that could become a nightmare. Another difficult part of these is the tools. You need a small stubby ratchet socket, because the connection of the transmission to the engine is bolted to the transmission with 8 bolts. However, with 9 bolts, I mean to say 9 bolts. However, I initially thought it was 8 bolts because I looked for everywhere for the last one. I couldn't find it, and then I started separating the engine from the transmission, and it was a pain in the ass. Sorry for my language. However, there is a hidden one which is directly below the directly below that, you have to trace your hand, and there was no way I could get it. My neighbor had to lend me his a stubby ratchet socket. I think it was a 14. Yeah, it was a 14, a small one, and I had to extend my hand through the back to actually get it. So I say, make sure you get a 9 bolts for the connection. It's not 8. That last bolt is gonna be a pain in the ass. Sorry. You have to go all the way. Let me see if I can get it from here. I can't get it from here, but it's right there, and it was really difficult to get. In addition, I cut off this edge. I cut it off so that the side of the EGR cooler could fit in. In addition to the EGR modification, this is the one that came out of my old car because I had to replace. I had to replace it with an unclogged one, so I had to wash it. Bought a fairly used one, washed it myself. Everything, the filter is all cleared, but this is the old one. Right. So in addition to cutting the side of the engine, for the side of the EGR valve to fit, I got rid of this part so that the EGR cooler will be able to sit properly